Empire under the clatter of wheels. Every train has a final station. Every murder has its own timetable. And this time, both were damn punctual. I don't like trains. Too many people, too few exits. But I owed a favor to an old friend, Gerald Lang, a banker with the face of a salmon and a taste for luxury. He invited me aboard the Imperial Belle, the elite express from Paris to Venice. The kind of train where they serve oysters for breakfast and your compartment has more space than your apartment. The train departed at dusk, and the platform buzzed with an atmosphere of expensive perfume, camera flashes, and faux aristocratic smiles. Those who weren't born rich pretended they were. The rest acted like they were already bored of it all. My compartment was next to some noisy Italians, and diagonally across from her car, Catherine Mayville, 29, heiress to the Mayville's Gems jewelry empire. A woman with a necklace around her throat, worth a country estate, and a sense of humor as dry as a tax auditor's process. I didn't know her personally, but I knew the stories. About her marriage to a broker who now loses more at cards than he gains on the stock market. About her plan to auction off the family heirloom, the blood of the orchid necklace, in Venice, and about how she despised that necklace. I don't need ancestral ghosts, Alex, she told me later over dinner when we finally got to talking. I'm not a museum. I'm the future. I'll be honest, she was sharp. But there was something real about her. The brutal honesty of a rich person who doesn't quite believe in their own wealth. In the first dining car, everyone gathered for a welcome dinner. Gerald chewed his duck like he wanted to send it back to the pond. At a nearby table, I noticed a young maid with fear-filled eyes, Grace, they called her. She kept looking around. In another corner sat Catherine's husband, Justin, and he looked too calm. Trust me, that's always a bad sign. The train started moving, and with it, so did this story. That night, I woke to a scream. A woman's voice from the compartment across Mayville's compartment. I rushed into the corridor. The lights flickered. Silence cut like a blade. When the door opened, Catherine was already dead. The necklace was gone. And the train kept rolling on rails leading not just to Venice, but straight into a murder. I've seen hundreds of corpses, but dead women with perfect makeup always give the worst kind of feeling, because someone worked hard to make them look not dead. Catherine lay on the side berth as if she'd fallen asleep after a long day. Only her lips were paler than usual, and her fingers were clenched oddly as if they'd been holding something, or pushing someone away. Her neck was bare. No chain, no trace. On the bedside table, a glass of wine, untouched, and strangely heart pills lay nearby, but the packet was unopened. I leaned closer. Under her nail, a microscopic fleck of gold dust. The corner of the tablecloth was torn, and her right shoe had slipped off slightly, as if she hadn't taken it off herself, but someone had moved her. I knew if this were suicide or a heart attack, things would look far messier. But this was like a display window. Someone had tried to craft a beautiful death, almost theatrical. I called the conductor, told him to seal off the car. Max, as usual, showed up late with a cigarette he wasn't supposed to smoke on a train. Murder? He asked, glancing at the body. No, a masquerade, I grumbled, and a poorly directed one. The suspects began to reveal themselves. Justin Mayville husband, he sat in his compartment, sipping brandy and rereading a newspaper. We barely spoke these last few days, he said. She had her business, the necklace, the auction, old scores. Did you know she planned to donate the proceeds to a museum? Number, and honestly, I don't care. He took a sip. I didn't kill her. I just didn't love her as much as I promised. Cold-blooded, frighteningly cold-blooded, but not a killer. It didn't feel like it. Grace Wintermaid. I didn't hear anything. I was asleep. Her voice trembled, but not falsely. Got someone on this train, Grace? I asked. Her eyes widened. A pause. Too long. No. But I already knew she had someone. And under her nail there were sparkles too, the same gold dust. Leo Riviere lover, not yet revealed, traveling under a false name. He sat in a compartment under the name Paul Berger, claiming to be a jewelry historian. He spoke softly, moved even quieter, the invisible type, but on his boots a faint scratch from the doorframe of Catherine's compartment. Madame Belanger companion. Poor girl, I warned her not to trust people with smiles. Did you trust her yourself? I carried her damn necklace for 10 years. I earned the right to be trusted. Stones, masks, and mirrors. Never trust a woman with trembling hands unless she's a jeweler. In this case, everyone was hiding something. But a lie is like a fake gem. It sparkles until it cracks under pressure. Morning on the train began not with coffee, but with a hunt. I woke to a faint clink metal against metal. In the corridor, near the rear car, I caught Grace, bending down, as if searching for an earring. What'd you drop? I asked. She flinched. Nothing, just adjusting a tablecloth. Dust. But between her fingers, I spotted a tiny fragmented piece of a chain's clasp. Broken, not cut, as if torn off in a hurry. Back in Catherine's compartment, I started over. I noticed the chair's upholstery, overlooked in the dark. On it a faint imprint of a ring, large, heavy, with a square head. Not Catherine's ring. But whose? I walked the train and found it. On Paul Berger, my quiet jewelry historian, was the very ring. Heavy, worn, a true craftsman's signet. Nice ring, I said. Where'd you get it? Heirloom, he replied. From my father. Oh, sure, like family jewels. Except yours has an engraving from a workshop that closed 10 years ago. I checked. He knew he'd slipped. His lips tightened. Who are you, really? Leo Riviere, he said, eyes down. Jeweler and Grace's husband, unofficially. She worked for Catherine and I was supposed to photograph the necklace to make a replica. She just wanted us to get out of debt, but he faltered. We didn't mean to kill her. And then it all clicked. Catherine caught Grace trying to photograph the necklace. She threatened to fire her, maybe even turn her in to the police. Leo swapped the necklace for a replica and returned it. But Catherine noticed the difference. The real clasp was colder. She was sensitive to it. Late that night, she took off the necklace to inspect it and found Leo in her compartment. He panicked. A struggle ensued. He didn't mean to kill her, but he grabbed her throat and squeezed too hard. Later, he and Grace agreed. Stage a natural death. Hide the necklace in the luggage. And escape before Venice at the Verona station. But one detail ruined it all. Grace forgot to wipe the gold dust from her hands when she adjusted the blanket and left a trace. Alex Riley, you found the necklace. You saw the swap, the motive money. But the real mistake wasn't yours, Leo. It was your wife's when she let her real tears betray her. Because on this train, everyone was playing a part, but she was living. Some clues hide in plain sight. Others in the soft lining of a suitcase, among underwear, socks, and other people's stories. And then there are those that hide not because they're concealed, but because no one thinks to look there. Grace held strong. Even when Max led her to the service car for questioning, she sat upright, answered evenly. No tears, no hysterics, only her eyes darted. I decided to check her luggage. She protested, of course. I didn't give permission, that's illegal. And murder, Max replied, is even more illegal. So, sorry. An ordinary suitcase. Plastic, burgundy, with scratches on the side. Looked like half the passengers' bags on this train. Inside a dress, a spare uniform, a makeup bag. Everything folded impeccably, almost obsessively. But at the bottom, Max, get me a knife. He understood instantly. In the suitcase's false bottom case, wooden, embossed with an orchid, Catherine's signature. This was the case for the blood of the orchid, the necklace at the heart of this whole farce. Max slowly lifted the lid. There lay the necklace, or something that looked like it. Sapphires, diamonds, the same design. At first glance impossible to fake, but I knew. The original had one flower tiny chip on the central stone. They never fixed it. A family superstition Catherine refused to repair. I looked closer. No chip. Fake, I said. Very precise, almost perfect, but too clean. Inside the case was a piece of paper. A handwritten note. The necklace is ready. Train 11:43. I'll handle everything. Just keep her away from the wardrobe. Don't be afraid. It's safe. No one will get hurt. L. Nice try, Leo. But you didn't account for one thing. Not everyone's conscience is ready for your plans. I searched her belongings further. Found something else. An old business card from a jewelry workshop. On the back a barcode. Modern, like an online order. I handed everything to Max. Trace who placed the order and where it was made. I'm sure it's the replica. Max nodded, no questions asked. He had his talents like finding data even when the train's Wi-Fi worked worse than a thief's conscience. I was heading back when I ran into Viscountess Dalver, the one who'd been complaining about disorder among the staff the whole trip. Monsieur Riley, my earrings are missing. When? Last night. I'm sure it was Grace. She had envious eyes. Envious, maybe. But the earrings, as it turned out later, she simply dropped in her compartment while removing a scarf. Max found them under the couch. Alex Riley. +1 false lead, -10 minutes of sleep. In Leo's compartment, I found the real clue. Inside his suit, a small box of jeweler's tools, tweezers, a loop, a graver, and a stone. One. Alone. The central sapphire. The real one. With the chip. I stared at it for a long time. It lay in a velvet cloth, like a heart torn from a queen. This wasn't just a stone. It was a confession. He didn't want to sell the original. He wanted to swap it and keep the real one for himself. Because real things don't hold wealth, they hold power. Especially if you're a fire jeweler with pride teetering on the edge of crime. Grace sat on the couch in the interrogation compartment. When I walked in, she didn't look up. He didn't mean to kill her, she said immediately. I swear. But he did, I replied. And you helped him hide the necklace. I I just wanted to get out. He promised it would be quick. No harm. Just the necklace, the auction, the money. But Catherine wasn't just your employer. You knew her since childhood, didn't you? She nodded, tears like they were late to the party. She was kind, but she didn't forgive. If she found out, she'd have put you both behind bars, I finished, and that's no excuse. Max returned closer to evening. The cards from Bolu at Fields. They specialize in museum replicas. And the order was placed through a dummy account, coincidentally in the day Grace flew out. It all lined up. The necklace, the stone, the note, the workshop, and a hallway camera showing Catherine's door opening twice late at night. One silhouette was unmistakably male. In Leo's coat, the puzzle was coming together. But I knew, before gathering everyone in the dining car for the final act, I needed to wait for one of them to break. And that moment was already steaming toward me on the rails. The art of forgery isn't about hands, it's about spine. You don't just create a copy. You convince yourself you deserve the original. And if you're willing to kill for it, you're no jeweler. You're a thief in an artist suit. Leo Riviere sat in his compartment like it was a prison cell. He didn't smoke, didn't drink, just sat staring at one point. The kind of man who had dreams until they became evidence. I walked in, closed the door behind me. Let's start simple. Why didn't you run? He smirked. Where to? A train, cameras, interrogations. I'm not an idiot. Number. You're worse. You're convinced you did everything right. Silence. I just wanted to break free. Me and Grace, everything was falling apart. Debts, unemployment. So you decided to rob her? I sat across from him. The woman who fed you from her hand? We only wanted the necklace. Just that, he flared. I made a perfect replica. So good even the auctioneers wouldn't have noticed. Except for one thing. I pulled the sapphire from my pocket. Your pride. Your sin. You kept the real stone because you wanted to prove I'm better than them all. He looked at the stone like it was a dead friend. I didn't kill her. No? Then why does the wine glass have fingerprints with micro scratches matching your graver? Don't lie. Meanwhile, Max rushed in with news. Grace, she escaped. What do you mean escaped? Used the moment when the guard was taking her to the dining car. Knocked him down, locked him in the bathroom, climbed out through a service tunnel between cars. Where'd she go? We think the luggage compartment. Her suitcase is there and maybe a plan B. The train was slowing. Soon we hit a stop at Murano. Panoramic windows revealed the Alps, but I felt like we were riding through a trap. I found Grace on the train's rear platform. She changed into first-class passenger clothes. Wig, glasses. On her Lapa backpack, inside cash, a passport under a false name, and another copy of the necklace. Again, she wanted to escape with a copy of a copy. Theft is like a disease. You get used to it, even if you're no good at it. It's over, I said. Number. It's not over. I love him. He didn't mean to. He killed her, Grace. For a stone, for an idea. She closed her eyes. I just wanted him to be who he used to be. And he became a murderer with a ring. Great trade. We returned to the car. Then something else strange happened. Justin, Catherine's husband, suddenly approached Max and said, I want to confess. To what? Max asked. I killed her. I strangled Catherine. For the money, for the necklace, for everything. It was me. Max reported it to me immediately. The three of us sat in the dining car's meeting area. I looked at Justine. He was cold, not even trembling. Seriously? You killed your wife? Yes. And what were you doing in your compartment at the time? Drinking brandy, before and after. And saw her die? Yes. Strange. Because I pulled out a tablet. The camera shows you never left your compartment. Not once. He didn't answer. Know the problem with bad liars? What? They want to be caught. You're covering for someone. Max leaned toward me. Think he loves Grace? Number, I think he's scared. Scared that if she talks, he'll lose even the illusion of a life. An empty husband without a necklace, without a wife, without purpose. I stepped out of the compartment, outside the window a tunnel, on my face light from a lamp, in my head readiness for the finale. Everyone was in place. The clues were gathered. The stage was set. Time to call the actors to the scene. Every murder has a reflection of the killer, a reflection of those who knew and those who stayed silent. All you need to do is place the mirror in the right spot. The dining car was nearly empty when I gathered them all. The place for coffee, wine, and posturing had become a courtroom. I stood at the end of the long table. Grace, Leo, Justin, Madame Belanger, Victor Cranial sat, some with haughty boredom, some with panic in their eyes, some just exhausted. Max stood by the exit, in case someone decided to step out for a smoke forever. I began. Madame Catherine Mayville was murdered in her compartment 3 nights ago. At first glancia, natural death, heart failure. But that's a lie. Pause. No one interrupts. There was no alcohol in her glass, though she always drank red before bed. Her heart pills were unopened, though she had an attack. On her wrist a trace of fingers, and on her nails gold dust. And finally, her necklace vanished. But it turned out to be a fake. I placed the case with the replica on the table. This is a forgery, crafted with talent but soulless, like the plan behind this murder. Leo lurched forward. We didn't mean to kill her, but you did. I didn't raise my voice. And now each of you will tell me what role you played in this performance. Breaking down the roles. Victor Crane, art dealer. You leaked information about the jewel. Helped list the necklace for auction, knowing it could be stolen. Got your cut, or a promise from Leo, right? I didn't know it would lead to murder, he muttered. Of course. Who plans a corpse for dinner? Madame Belanger? You knew something was up. Saw Grace sneaking around at night, but stayed silent. Why? I don't meddle in others' games, she replied. I'm tired of playing nanny. But for your silence, you get a pension stained with blood. Congratulations. Justin Mayville, you knew your wife didn't love you, that she was leaving, that her will had changed. But you didn't kill her. You gave up. Then you confessed not out of guilt but fear. And you know what's worse? I leaned toward him. You didn't even try to stop her. He lowered his head. No comment. Grace and Leo. I paused. You had everything. Access, a plan, a motive. Grace Catherine's childhood friend. Leoa, master jeweler. Together, you devised the theft. Leo made a replica, swapped the stone. Grace, distracted, picked the moment, but Catherine was too smart. She noticed the difference. She understood, and then panic kicked in. Leo clenched his fist. I didn't want to kill her, she screamed. Said she'd turn us into the police. I just wanted her to be quiet. And she stayed quiet forever, I replied. Final clues. The hallway camera caught 2 entries to Catherine's compartment, one at 114 Grace, the second at 127 Leo. In that window, she realized the jewel was fake. And when he entered, a struggle began. She wasn't beaten, just strangled, carefully, slowly, the way you strangle someone you pity but don't forgive. I took one last step, pulled the chipped sapphire from my pocket. This is the key. You kept it, Leo. Not because it's valuable, but because you wanted to be the best. Even if it meant becoming the worst. Silence. Grace sobbed. Leo buried his face in his hands. Max stepped forward. Leo Riviere, Grace Winter, you're under arrest for the murder of Catherine Mayville and attempted jewel theft. And so, as the necklace returned to its case, and the killer to reality, I realized even the finest replica will never replace the original. And the most calculated lie won't withstand a glance through the mirror. The train arrived, but the people didn't. Some got off early, some stayed on the journey, and some just stepped off at the wrong station where truth was waiting. Venice, 11:46 a.m. The train glided onto the platform as if reluctant to stop. The hum of brakes, a piercing screech of metal land, then silence. Passengers hurried to gather suitcases, touch up makeup, pretend it was just another trip, that no one had died, that there was no murder, that this was just a train. But not for me. Leo and Grace were led out in handcuffs. She walked with her head down, unresisting. He, on the other hand, eyes forward, chin high, as if still hoping his genius would earn forgiveness. Except genius that kills a woman is just a master murderer. Max stood beside me, nervously chewing gum. Hell of a ride, huh? He smirked. Well, at least the food was good, I replied. He nodded toward Justin, who stood alone by the last car, staring into nothing. What about him? Nothing. He's not a killer. But he's a witness to a crime and his own mistakes. That's enough for a lifetime. Max pondered. You know, he's not that bad. Yeah, just became not bad too late. We walked along the platform. Local authorities were already waiting. I handed over the papers, the evidence, and briefly explained the details. Max went to coordinate translators. I was left alone. And there it was, Venice, a city where stones are older than most family dynasties, where everything is built on illusion, houses on water, masks, names, the perfect place to hide the truth, or to speak it. I sat on a bench across from the station. In my hand saw a cup of strong Italian coffee. In my head, everything that had happened. Catherine wanted to shed her past. The family necklace, the marriage, the mask of heiress. But her past was too clingy. You can't sell it at auction. You can't pack it in velvet. You can only live through it or die from it. Max returned. Saturday beside me. Leaving? In an hour. Plane ticket. Want to take another train ride? He grinned. Only if there are no corpses in the compartments, or at least good wine. He fell silent. Listen, did you know right away it wasn't Justin? Of course. Why? Because when he said he killed her, he didn't tremble. But when I said she didn't die instantly, he flinched. Max nodded. And Grace? No one cries that sincerely unless they regret it. And real guilt-it's always in the tears, not in the confession. We walked to the edge of the lagoon. Gondolas swayed like cats in the sun. In the crowd of tourist faces, cameras, laughter, no one knew that murderers had just been let out from the other end of the platform. And, as always, everything looked normal. Because evil never shouts. It whispers and makes copies. I pulled out my notebook, wrote, "An empire can be built on stones, but it crumbles because of people." And if you ask me what justice is, I won't say the law. I'll say when the fake fades and the original remains, even if only in memory. The train left, but I stayed. Because someone has to look in the mirror and not turn away. The end. Alex Riley. My name is Alex Riley, and I'm a private detective. It sounds like the start of a cool movie where I'd be sipping whiskey, smoking cigars, and saving damsels from villains in trench coats. But reality isn't a movie. My office is an old garage on the edge of town, reeking of motor oil and unfulfilled dreams. There are a couple of faded posters on the wall, spin-up girls and whiskey bottle sand, a pile of unpaid bills on the desk that I ignore with the stubbornness of a deadbeat dad dodging alimony. The coffee in my mug has gone cold, but I take a sip anyway, bitter like my life. I'm a former cop. They kicked me out of the force for insubordination. But let's be real, I just don't like being told what to do, especially by dim-witted bosses with even dumber orders. Now I'm my own boss, and that's damn nice. Even if I get paid sporadically and my clients are often as crazy as the crooks I chase. The door creaks, and in walks Max. 25 years old, his uniform fits him like it's on a hanger, and his eyes are burning with enthusiasm, like he just saved a kitten from a tree. Max is a police officer they assigned to me after I accidentally meddled in one of their cases. Officially, he's my babysitter, but I see potential in him. Maybe even a partner if he stops being so damn righteous. "Riley, have you heard?" he says, practically bouncing with excitement. "James Hartley, the millionaire, was stabbed at his party. The police are stumped." I lean back in my chair, propping my feet on the desk. Hartley? That fat bastard with a yacht and 3 mistresses? Interesting. And what, your bosses dropped the ball again? Max frowns but nods. They're at a dead end. But you're not planning to get involved, are you? I smirk down the rest of my coffee and stand up. Max, kid, boredom is death. Let's go see who stabbed who. He tries to protest, but I'm already at the door. He trails behind me like a puppy on a leash. Rule number 1 in this city. If the cops can't handle it, it's time for me to step in. Max. I'm sitting in Riley's beat-up Ford, which rattles like a tractor and smells of gasoline. Alex is behind the wheel, smirking like he knows something I don't. My superiors told me, "Keep 'em in line, Max." But I've already figured out that's like trying to hold the wind in your hands. We pull up to Hartley's mansion. The place looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. Glass, steel, and smart speakers that probably call the cops themselves. Inside, it's already swarming with officers, but they're all milling around the body like they're afraid to touch it. Hartley is lying face down, a knife sticking out of his back like a flagpole. Next to him, a shattered smartphone, its glass fragments glinting under the chandelier's light. Riley crouches by the body, inspecting it like it's a piece of art in a museum. "Write this down, Max," he says without looking back. The knife went in at an angle. The killer's a lefty. And look at the floor sugar. Hartley was diabetic, but this isn't just crumbs from a donut. Sugar? I repeat, pulling out my notebook. That's a clue? Max, did you go to a school for idiots? It's a lead, not trash. And here's another thing of feather. He picks up a thin black feather from the floor. Looks like it's from a hat. Someone here's a fashionista. I jot it down, though I'm not entirely sure where he's going with this. The room is full of guest city elites, all in expensive suits and fake smiles. Lily Marsh, an actress with an angelic face. Reginald Crowe, a banker who reeks of money and trouble. Violet, his mistress, with eyes like a cat's. And Jack Thompson, a former boxer turned bodyguard, with fists the size of my head. Anyone see what happened? I asked, trying to sound official. Silence. Riley rolls his eyes. All right, Max, grab your little pencil. We're shaking down these clowns one by one. I nod, though my mind's racing. How's he even going to do this without a warrant? Chapter 2. Talking to the Elite. Alex Riley. First rule of interrogation. Don't let them get comfortable. I start with Jack Thompson. He's sitting with his arms crossed, staring like he wants to deck me. Jack, you're a boxer, I say, twirling the feather in my fingers. You used to beat people up for money. Stabbing someone isn't your style, right? Or is it? I didn't touch anyone, he growls. I was at the door guarding. Guarding, huh? And Hartley with a knife in his back? That's what, a bonus for your shift? He clenches his fists but stays quiet. I smirk and move on to Lily Marsh. She's smoking a thin cigarette, her eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. Miss Marsh, I lean in closer. This feather's from your hat, and I heard Hartley had you on a leash. Debts, right? You're bold, Mr. Riley. She exhales, smoke in my face, but I'm not a killer. He was a bastard, but not worth that much. Show me the hat and I'll decide if I believe you. She scoffs, but I see her fingers trembling. Next up is Crow. This slimy guy is sweating, even though the AC is on full blast. Reginald. I put a hand on his shoulder. Hartley knew about your shady deals. Maybe you decided to shut him up for good? Nonsense. He jerks away. I have an alibi. An alibi? You mean Violet? She wouldn't hurt a fly unless it paid her. Last is Violet. She's too calm, sitting there, sipping wine, looking at me like I'm a snack. You're not worried, huh? I ask. Hartley's dead, and you're still acting like you're at the party. What am I supposed to do, Cry? She shrugs. He wasn't a gift. Max whispers in my ear, you're pissing them all off. Is this even legal? Max, people lie when they're comfortable. I make them uncomfortable. Got that? He nods, but he looks like he wants to bolt. Chapter 3. The Basement and the Fists. Max. Riley drags me down to the mansion's basement. I try to protest we don't have a warrant. This breaks every rule, but he just waves me off. Max, relax. Warrants are for people afraid to get their hands dirty. The basement is like a bunker. Servers, screens, boxes of papers. Riley rummages in a corner and finds a hidden compartmental hard drive with camera footage. He shines his phone's flashlight on it, like it's pirate treasure. Hartley was blackmailing everyone, he says. Lily, Crow, even Jack. But the files are wiped. Someone here's a hacker and they're damn fast. Riley, this is evidence. We need to turn it in, I almost shout. Turn it in? So your bosses can lose it in 5 minutes? No way. Then the lights go out, and I hear footsteps. 2 thugs burst into the basement. One goes for Riley, the other for me. I try to recall my academy training, but all I manage is a clumsy dance with my fists. Riley grabs a chair, smacks his guy in the knees, and he goes down. My guy pulls a knife, but Alex throws a bottle of whiskey, where did that even come from, and hits him square in the forehead. I finally muster the courage and punch my guy in the jaw. He collapses. We're standing there, panting. Riley grins. Not bad, Max, but next time, hit, don't dance. He takes the drive. I'm quiet, but my mind's racing. What the hell have I gotten myself into? Chapter 4. Following Thomas Gray. Alex Riley. Thomas Gray, a name that sounds like a ghost in this case. Hartley's former partner, a man who, rumor has it, was thrown out of the business with empty hands and shattered hopes. If anyone wanted Hartley dead, Gray's at the top of the list. The problem is, he vanished like smoke after their last fight. But I'm not the type to give up when I can smell the prey. Max, I say, staring out the car window as the city flashes by. Can you run him through your police channels? I need to know where he is. Max nods, already pulling out his phone. Give me half an hour. If he's still in the city, I'll find him. 40 minutes later, we're driving to the outskirts, to a motel with a faded sign reading Northern Star. It's the kind of place where dreams go to die. Peeling paint, flickering neon, and a damp smell that seeped into everything. Max parks, and I check the revolver under my jacket, just in case. Room 12, Max says, glancing at his phone. He was spotted here yesterday. We approach the door, and I knock. Silence. I knock again, harder. Finally, there's a shuffle inside, and the door cracks open. Gray stands there thin, with gray, tangled hair like a mess of wires, and eyes that have seen too much. He looks at us like a cornered animal. What do you want? His voice is hoarse, tired. Thomas Gray? I ask, though I already know the answer. We're here about Hartley. He flinches but plays dumb. Hartley? Don't know any Hartley. Cut it, Thomas. I push the door open and step inside without waiting for an invite. You were his partner until he screwed you over. Now he's dead, and I want to know what you know. Gray backs up to a table where an empty bottle of cheap whiskey sits. The room reeks of booze and despair. He slumps into a chair like his legs can't hold him anymore. Hartley. He stole everything. My business, my life. Set me up with fake contracts. I was left with nothing. And you decided to get revenge? I lean in, locking eyes with him. No, he shakes his head. I wanted him to rot in jail, but kill him? That's not me. Max is scanning the room, and I see him notice something on the nightstand, a pack of cigarettes and a matchbox. Nothing special, but I know he's looking for sugar. Nothing yet. Where were you the night of the murder? I ask. Here, Gray shrugs. Ask the bartender across the street. I got blackout drunk. I can tell he's telling the truth, but something's off. He's too calm for someone just accused of murder. Or too broken to lie. Max. Riley stares at Gray like a hawk eyeing its prey. But I'm not sure this guy's our killer. He looks like he gave up long before any of this started. While Riley grills him, I check out the motel room. There's nothing here tying him to the sugar, just a sticky puddle on the table, probably spilled whiskey. Let's go, Riley says finally, stepping away from Gray. We'll check his alibi. We step outside, and I feel the cold wind cut through me. Do you believe him? I ask. Not entirely, Riley replies, lighting a cigarette. He's holding something back. But if he's not the killer, he knows who is. I nod, getting behind the wheel, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Ambush in the dark. Alex Riley. We're barely out of the motel when I hear the screech of tires. A black SUV barrels down the street, headlights off, heading straight for us. I shove Max to the side just as the vehicle swerves, missing us by inches. Two guys jump out, big, mean-looking bastards with brass knuckles and a glint in their eyes that says they're here for blood. "Get down!" I yell, pulling my revolver. Max ducks behind the car, fumbling for his gun. I fire at the first guy, aiming for his leg. He howls, dropping to the ground, but the second one's on me, swinging those brass knuckles like a sledgehammer. I dodge, but he catches my shoulder, and pain shoots through me like lightning. I grab his arm, twist it, and slam him into the car door. He grunts, but he's not done. Max finally gets his act together and fires a warning shot into the air. The guy hesitates, and I use the moment to knee him in the gut. He doubles over, and I knock him out with the butt of my revolver. We're panting, the cold air burning our lungs. The first guy still on the ground, clutching his leg. I walk over, press my boot to his chest, and point the gun at his face. "Who sent you?" I growl. He spits blood, glaring at me. "You're a dead man, Riley." "Wrong answer," I say, pressing harder. "Try again." "Lane." He finally chokes out. "Richard Lane." I step back, glancing at Max. He's pale but standing, his gun still in hand. "Told you Lane was bad news," I mutter, holstering my revolver. "Let's get out of here before more show up." "Max." My hands are shaking as we get back in the car. I almost froze back there, but Riley didn't hesitate. He's a force of nature, reckless, maybe, but effective. I can see why the precinct wanted me to keep an eye on him, and why they're terrified of him at the same time. Lane sent them. I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "That means we're getting close." "Too close," Riley replies, lighting another cigarette. "He's rattled. Good. Now we need to find Gray's alibi and see if Lane's name comes up anywhere else." I nod, gripping the steering wheel. This case is bigger than I thought, and I'm starting to realize I'm in way over my head. But there's no turning back now. I glance at Riley, and for the first time, I feel like we're a team. Pieces of the puzzle. Alex Riley. Back at my office, I'm nursing a bruised shoulder and a fresh cup of coffee. Max is flipping through his notebook, piecing together what we've got. The USB drive from Hartley's mansion, the sugar at the scene, Gray's story, it's all starting to form a picture, but it's still blurry. Gray's alibi checks out, Max says, looking up from his phone. The bartender across from the motel confirmed he was there all night, passed out by 10. "Doesn't mean he's clean," I mutter, taking a drag from my cigarette. "He knows more than he's letting on. But Lane sending those goons, that's the real lead." Max nods, then pulls out the file on Victor Crane. Crane's murder matches Hartley's, knife in the back, sugar at the scene, both were blackmailers. "You think Lane's behind both?" "Likely," I say, exhaling smoke. "But we need proof. The USB drive's wiped, but there's got to be something else tying Lane to this. We need to find out who else he's got dirt on." Max looks thoughtful, then says, "What about the sugar? It's too specific to be random. Maybe it's a signature." I raise an eyebrow, impressed. "You're catching on, kid. Sugar's not just a clue, it's a message. We need to find out what it means to Lane." I lean back, staring at the ceiling. The pieces are there, but they're not fitting together yet. Lane's at the center of this web, and I'm gonna drag him out, even if I have to burn the whole thing down. Max. Riley's deep in thought, and I'm starting to see how his mind works. He doesn't just follow lead, she anticipates them. The sugar, the USB drive, Gray's fear, it's all part of a bigger picture, And Riley's determined to see it through. I'm still shaking from the fight, but I'm learning. I'm starting to think like him. Should we go back to the precinct? I ask. Get more on Lane? Not yet, Riley says, stubbing out his cigarette. First, we dig deeper into Crane's murder. If Lane's the sugar killer, there'll be a pattern. And patterns always lead to mistakes. I nod, feeling a surge of determination. We're getting closer, and I'm not backing down now. Not after everything we've been through. A web of lies. Alex Riley. We're parked in a dark alley, the city's neon glow flickering through the windshield. My ribs still ache from the fight at the motel, and Max is still breathing hard, his fingers nervously fidgeting with the edge of his shirt. I set my revolver on my lap and glance at him. We need to find the connection, Max, I say, my voice low. Crane's murder, those goons, Lane. It's not random. He nods, though I can see the doubt in his eyes. But where do we start? We've only got fragments. With what we have, I pulled out a crumpled note we found at the motel, a scrap of paper with the initials TK and a phone number scrawled on it. This is our key. Max takes his phone and dials the number. After a few rings, a raspy female voice answers. She introduces herself as Tessa Crow, Crane's former secretary. We arrange to meet at an abandoned cafe on the outskirts of town. I can feel it. We're on the verge of something big. Max, the cafe looks like Tom forgot it 20 years ago. Shattered windows, a musty smell inside. Tessa's already waiting for USA gaunt woman in her 40s with tired eyes. She lights a cigarette and looks at us like we're ghosts. You're here about Crane, aren't you? She asks, exhaling smoke. I knew someone would come eventually. What do you know? Riley sits across from her, his voice hard as steel. Tessa smirks. Crane wasn't just a businessman. He got into dirty deals with lane smuggling, blackmail, murders, but then he wanted out, and they took him out. Who? I jump in, my pulse quickening. I don't know the name, she takes another drag. But Crane had a list. Names, dates, deals. He hid it before he died. Find that list and you'll know everything. Riley leans closer. Where is it? In his old office, Tessa says, flicking her cigarette butt to the floor. But don't go there without a plan. They'll be waiting. We leave the cafe with a new goal. The list is our chance to unravel the web of lies stretching from Crane's death to the people who tried to kill us tonight. But I know there's more danger ahead. Riley's already checking his revolver, and I'm trying to steady the tremor in my hands. We're in the game now, and the stakes just keep getting higher. Chapter 8. Crane's List. Alex Riley. Night has fallen over the city like a heavy, damp blanket, carrying the scent of asphalt and decay. Max and I are standing outside Crane's abandoned office-grade building swallowed by shadows. The windows are boarded up, but faint streetlight glows through the cracks. I can feel adrenaline pumping through my veins. This place is a trap, and I know it. But we don't have a choice. Crane's List is our only shot at finding the killer. Keep your eyes peeled, I whisper to Max, pulling out my revolver. If Tessa's right, they're waiting for us. He nods, gripping a flashlight in one hand and his service pistol in the other. His face is tense, but there's determination in his eyes. This kid's growing on me. We sneak in through the back door. It creaks like something out of a cheap horror flick, and I wince. Inside, it's dark, smelling of dust and something metallic. I turn on my phone's flashlight and lead Max down a corridor where the walls are covered in graffiti. Crane's office is on the second floor, and we climb a rickety staircase. The office looks like it was abandoned in a hurry. An overturned desk, scattered papers, an old safe in the corner. I head for the safe, but Max grabs my arm. Look, he shines his flashlight on the floor. Footprints. Fresh ones. Someone was here recently. Damn it, I mutter. We've been beat to it. I approach the safe, listening carefully. It's old, with a combination lock. I try a combination Crane's birthday, which Max found in the file. Nothing. Then I try the date of his death. Click. The safe opens and inside is a folder, worn but intact. I pull it out, flip it open, the list, names, dates, amounts, Lane, Hartley, a dozen others, and one name is highlighted in red, Thomas Gray. Here it is, I say, handing the folder to Max. Gray was the key. He knew everything. But I don't get to finish. The office door crashes open, and two figures appear in the doorway, one with a bat, the other with a gun. I dive behind the desk. Max ducks behind a cabinet. A bullet whizzes past my head, embedding itself in the wall. Max, shoot! I yell, raising my revolver. But he hesitates, and I can see his hands shaking. Damn it, the kid's not ready yet. I fire, aiming for the gunman's leg. He screams, dropping his weapon and collapsing. The second guy charges at me with the bat, but I block the swing, jabbing him in the jaw with my elbow. He goes down like a sack of potatoes. Max finally fires, but his bullet hits the ceiling. Well, at least he tried. We tie them up with their own belts. I grab the list and turn to Max. You okay? He nods, though he's pale as a ghost. Yeah, that was my first time. First time's never easy, I say, clapping him on the shoulder. Let's get out of here. Max? My hands are still trembling as we leave the building. I almost let Riley down. He won't say it out loud, but I can tell by the way he glances at me as we head to the car. We've got the list, but I can't shake the feeling that we've only scratched the surface. What now? I ask, getting behind the wheel. Lane, Riley says, lighting a cigarette. He's on the list, and he clearly doesn't want us digging further. Time to pay him a visit. I nod, though my chest tightens. Lane's a shark, and we're swimming right into his jaws. But after tonight, I'm starting to understand why Riley's so good at this. He doesn't just hunt for the truth, he rips it out like a tooth. Face to face with the shark. Alex Riley. Richard Lane lives in a penthouse that looks like it was ripped straight out of a billionaire's magazine. Glass walls, a panoramic view of the city, and furniture that costs more than I've made in my entire life. Max and I stand at the entrance, and I can feel the air crackling with tension. Lane knows we're coming, and I'm sure he's prepared. The door is opened by a bodyguard, a hulking guy with a face like it's carved from stone. I flash him my expired badge, but he doesn't bother checking. Max clutches the folder with the list, his knuckles white from the strain. We step inside, and Lane greets us in the living room, sitting in a leather chair with a glass of whiskey in hand. He's in his 50s, but looks like he could crush you with a glance. Mr. Riley, his voice is as slick as oil. And officer, what's your name? I've heard about you. You're digging into old cases that are better left buried. The past has a way of resurfacing, Lane. I sit across from him without asking, especially when it's tied to murders. Crane, Hartley, and your little blackmail racket. He chuckles, but I catch a flicker of unease in his eyes. You're accusing me of something? Not yet. I nod to Max, who places the folder on the table. But this list speaks for itself. Your name's on it, tied to a bunch of dirty deals, and Crane and Hartley both dead. Coincidence? Lane picks up the folder, flips through it, maintaining his composure. This proves nothing, he says, leaning back. Yes, I knew Crane. We did business. But kill him? Why? He was useful to me. Useful until he wanted out. I leaned closer. And Hartley? Was he getting inconvenient too? Lane sets his glass down, his smile turning colder. You're playing a dangerous game, Riley. People who dig too deep often end up at the bottom. Is that a threat? Max cuts in, his voice steadier than I expected. I glance at him, the kid's holding his own. Is it Vice? Lane stands, adjusting his jacket. Now get out before I call my lawyers. We leave, but I know Lane's lying. His calm is a mask, and I can feel it's about to crack. Max? We ride the elevator down, and I'm still clutching the folder, even though Lane's already seen it. Riley's silent, but I can tell he's replaying every word that slimy bastard said. I'm starting to understand how Riley works. He doesn't just look for the truth, he provokes it. He's hiding something, I say, as we get into the car. Of course he is, Riley replies, lighting up and exhaling smoke through the window. But he's no fool. He won't get his hands dirty himself. Those goons at Crane's office, they were his. Then why'd he let us go? I frown. Because he wants us to make the next move, Riley smirks. He thinks we're on his hook, but I love breaking other people's plans. I nod, but my mind's racing. Lane's too confident. He's got a plan, and I'm afraid we're already caught in it. But I can't show weakness in front of Riley Hayes expecting me to prove my worth. What's next? I ask. We go back to Gray, he says, starting the car. He knows more than he's told us. And this time I'll squeeze every last drop out of him. Thomas Gray's Truth. Alex Riley. The Northern Star Motel greets us with the same depressing vibe as last time. Flickering neon, peeling walls, and a stench of despair that feels baked into the building itself. Max and I head to room 12, where Thomas Gray's hiding out. My gut's telling me this visit is going to turn everything we thought we knew upside down. Lane's too calm, which means he's playing his own game. And Gray, I'm betting, is one of his pieces. I knock on the door, but there's no answer. I knock again, harder, and hear shuffling inside. The door cracks open, and there's Gray's same haggard look, tangled hair, but now there's something new in his eyes. Fear. He looks at us like we're ghosts. You again, he mutters, stepping back into the room. I already told you everything I know. Not everything. I step inside without waiting for an invite and sit on a creaky chair. Max closes the door and leans against the wall, his hand on his holster. We found Crane's list, Thomas. Your name's on it, highlighted in red. You knew about the blackmail and the murders. Gray goes pale, his hands trembling as he sits on the bed. I didn't want it to come to this, he says, his voice breaking. Crane, he was my friend. We were trying to get out, but Lane doesn't let go. Keep talking. I lean in, feeling the air in the room grow heavier. What are you hiding? He's silent, but I can see his lips quivering. Finally, he looks up. I was there the night Crane was killed. His voice cracks. I was supposed to meet him, take the list. But when I got there, he was already dead. The sugar, that was Lane's signature. He always left sugar at the scene, his sick joke. Sweet death, he called it. I feel my blood boil. Lane, it fits. But why did Gray keep quiet? Why didn't you go to the police? Max asks, his voice tense. Because Lane threatened my family. Gray clenches his fists. He said if I opened my mouth, my daughter, He trails off, burying his face in his hands. I exchange a look with Max. This changes everything. Lane isn't just a mastermind, he's a cold-blooded killer, playing us like puppet. Where's Lane now? I ask. I don't know. Gray shakes his head. But he's always one step ahead. You need to leave. He knows you're here. That's when I hear the faint but distinct sound. Footsteps outside the door. I stand, pulling my revolver. Max does the same, his eyes wide with tension. Hide, I whisper to Gray. But he's already diving under the bed. Max. My heart's pounding so hard it feels like it might burst out of my chest. I'm standing by the door, gun at the ready, while Riley presses himself against the wall beside me. The footsteps get closer, and I hear someone fiddling with the lock. The door crashes open, and two guys burst in the same goons who attacked us at Crane's office. One's got a gun, the other a knife. Shoot! Riley yells, and this time I don't hesitate. I pull the trigger, the bullet hitting the first guy in the shoulder. He screams, dropping his weapon and collapsing. Riley lunges at the second, knocking the knife from his hand with an elbow strike. They hit the floor, and I see Riley land a punch, then another, until the guy goes limp. We're standing over them, breathing hard. Gray crawls out from under the bed, his face whiter than a sheet. They came for me, he whispers. Lane, he won't stop. Riley wipes blood from his knuckles and looks at me. Good job, kid, he says, and I feel a warmth spread through me. For the first time, he's looking at me like I'm not just a burden. What now? I ask, holstering my gun. Now we go after Lane, Riley says, his voice hard as steel. And this time we pin him down. Chapter 11. The Final Move. Alex Riley. Max and I are sitting in the car across from the skyscraper where Lane set up his fortress. Night has draped the city in a black shroud, and the skyscraper's lights glow like a beacon for moths. Only we're not mothware hunters, and Lane's our prey. After Gray's confession, we've got everything we need to take him down. Crane's list, the connection to the murders, and now we know the sugar is his signature. But I can feel it, Lane won't go down without a fight. Got a plan? Max asks, checking the magazine of his pistol. His voice is steady, but I can see him gripping the handle a little too tight. Plan simple. I light my last cigarette from the pack, exhaling smoke through the window. We go in, find Lane, and make him talk. If he resists, we take him down. What if his guys are there? Max looks at me, and I see not fear, but determination in his eyes. This kid's really stepped up over the past few days. Then we take them down first, I smirk, tossing the cigarette butt onto the asphalt. Let's go, cop. Time to end this case. We get out of the car and head to the skyscraper's service entrance. The door's unlocked, Lane's expecting us, and that puts me on edge. We take the elevator to the top floor, where, according to Max's intel, Lane has his private office. The doors open, and we're met with silence too loud to be natural. Lane's office is the epitome of luxury. A massive blackwood desk, glass walls overlooking the night city, and him sitting in a chair with a glass of whiskey in hand. He doesn't even stand when we walk in. I knew you'd come, he says, his voice as slick as a snake. You're stubborn, but that won't save you. Your game's over, Lane. I tossed the folder with the list onto his desk. Crane, Hartley, the sugar at the scenes. We know everything, and Gray's ready to testify. Lane chuckles, setting his glass down. You think that changes anything? I've got lawyers, connections, money. You can't touch me. Maybe not. I pull my revolver, aiming it at Lane. But I can make sure you regret being born. Max. Riley's got Lane in his sights, and I can feel the air in the room turn heavy. Lane doesn't look scared, he looks confident. That's bad. I'm standing beside Riley, gun ready, but my eyes dart around the room. Something's off. You made a mistake coming here, Lane says. And that's when I hear footsteps behind us. The door bursts open and three guys rush in, one with a gun, two with clubs. I spin around, firing without thinking. The bullet hits the first guy in the leg, and he goes down screaming. Riley tackles the second, knocking him to the ground, but the third swings his club at me, hitting my shoulder. Pain explodes through my body, but I grab his arm, twisting it. He yells, dropping to his knees. Riley's already handled his guy. I hear a crack as he slams the guy's head into the desk. Lane jumps up, trying to run, but I lunge after him, tackling him to the floor. We go down hard, and I pin him, cuffing his wrists behind his back. "Don't move," I growl, snapping the cuffs shut. Riley walks over, breathing heavily, and looks at me with something like respect. "Not bad, cop," he said, wiping blood from his lip. We call for backup, and within half an hour, Lane's in cuffs in a police car. Crane's list is the evidence that'll put him away for years, but I know this isn't the end. The city's full of guys like Lane, and Riley and I are just getting started. Epilogue: Whiskey and Cola. Alex Riley. The Lane case is closed. We're sitting in my favorite bar on the edge of town, an old smoky joint where the bartender knows my name, and the music from the jukebox sounds like it was recorded before I was born. I'm holding a glass of whiskey, the ice clinking softly as I look at Max. He's sitting across from me, sipping a cola, looking like he aged a decade in just a few days. "You did good, kid," I say, raising my glass. "Didn't think you'd make it." He smirks, taking a sip of his cola. "Honestly, neither did I. But you know how to pull the truth out." I nod, taking a drink. Lane's behind bars. Crane's list has been turned over to the police, and Gray and his daughter are under protection. We solved the murders of Hartley and Crane, but I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. The city's crawling with sharks like Lane, waiting for you to turn your back so they can go for your throat. "What's next?" Max asks. And there's not just exhaustion in his voice, but curiosity. "Next?" I set my glass down, meeting his eyes. "We keep digging. This city's like a swamp. The deeper you go, the dirtier it gets. But someone's got to clean up the mess, right?" He nods, and I see a spark light up in his eyes. This guy's not the green rookie they saddled me with a week ago. He's a partner now. Maybe even a friend. "To new cases," I say, raising my glass. "To new cases," he replies, clinking his cola against it. "Max." I look at Riley, and for the first time, I feel like I found my place. This bar, this city, these cases, they've become part of me. Lane was my first real test, and I passed. Not without mistakes, but I made it. And Riley, this gruff, sarcastic guy who first saw me as a burden, now sees me as an equal. I sip my cola, feeling the exhaustion fade, replaced by anticipation. The city's full of secrets, and Riley and I are just starting to unravel them. I know there are more cases ahead, more dangers, but now I'm ready. For the first time, I feel like I can be part of something bigger. "Riley," I say, setting my glass down, "thanks for not kicking me out on the first day." He smirks, finishing his whiskey. "Don't thank me, cop. You'll regret sticking with me 100 times over." I laugh, and we sit in silence, listening to the old tune from the jukebox. Tomorrow's a new day, and I know it'll bring new mysteries. But now I'm not alone. I've got a partner,